What's up, broskies? My mouse stopped working. I'm speed running. To be honest, this first attempt, I'm probably getting world record on this first attempt. If I do get world record on this first, if I do get world record on this first attempt, what? Why am I gotta just switch back my sensitivity. I gotta turn everything back on. Why do they turn on controller hints? That makes me so mad. Do you think I'm a baby? Do you think I'm the baby? Let's go. Do you think I'm the let's go man? Do you think I'm the let's go? Oh my gosh. Why? Bruh, the actual thing that works stopped working. Why? Oh my gosh. This is why I don't play on controller anymore. Why did this stop working?
I've already got a zonk up there, and I'm gonna leave the 52 lane. If we would have gotten to the curve, let's see.
Okay. I got two new wires. The situation is dire. Well, fuck your mom. And I made her cry. 4 big guys. And I bust on my eye. God, this doesn't work either. I swear if this actually works. Bro, oh my gosh, I can't even use my controller. I can't even use my controller. What? Do I have to use... Why did I have to lose that official Xbox? Oh my gosh. I gotta use Bluetooth now. YouTube probably won't... What? use Bluetooth now. Okay, nice. Xbox controller. It's working. 50%. That's not good. Oh my gosh! Why doesn't it work? Oh my gosh! I can't even play. I can't even do anything. I'm scared to press this. So I'm not. Probably copyrighted anyway.
Hi, Asuna-san.
Yeah,
Wait, what the?
this is the shit we're talking about today.
What?
I'm so sorry, Mom. Now, people who are disconnected from anime and its fandoms think anime is weird, and we only watch it for hentai and porn purposes.
What you be taking to school?
Huh?
What kind of tablet, whatever you be taking to school?
And they're right. Let's not act like they're wrong. They're right. You beat your meat to anime girls. But I won't judge you.
Atlas VPN is a tool that hides your virtual location and encrypts your data. It keeps you and your... Bro, look at this man think he fresh.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no.
I'm about to cyberbully him. He's asking for it. Hello? Hey man, why you in my comments with that bull? Cause I felt like it. I feel like being a menace today. Is that a problem? Alright, bet. Meet me at the park. What? Meet me at the park! Yeah, chill, I'm coming. Yeah, sound like a Rottweiler. Hey, I heard you was talking junk on Facebook. I sure was. What you gonna do about it? Yeah, now you quiet. Oh man, chill. We can figure this out. You said I looked like a left thumb. I mean, was I lying? Look at that dome. Built like an inhaler. Breathe, bitch. Hammerhead shark, you're done. First I'm gonna blast you, then I'm gonna blast your dog, then I'm gonna blast your... Everybody clap your hands. To the right now. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time. One hop this time. Crisscross. Crisscross. Cha-cha, real smooth.
Hey, Psych2Goers, welcome back.
What's going on here?
But most of all, I'm...
Oobleck is a non-Newtonian fluid, and what that means is its viscosity is dependent on the shear rate. So when you shear it, it has a different viscosity than when you don't shear it. Here, when I move it fast, you can see it's kind of just this big lump. But then if I just let it relax, it looks just like a liquid. If I move quick enough, I can hold it in my hand. And if I just let it relax, becomes this liquid. Pretty cool. But if you shear it too much, it actually separates out the water and the cornstarch, so it actually does become a powder that's not oobleck anymore. Whoa, that's cool. Look at that. So look at this stuff. Hey, it squoze the water right out of it. That's not even liquid-like anymore. It's more powder-like.
In my most recent video, I took the original Super Mario Bros. Game and turned it into a new 3D version in honor of the game's 35th anniversary, and people seem to really like it. I think what made it so special is that for the first time I made a game where all the assets were made by me, instead of relying on an external source like Sketchfab. So I decided to do the same thing again, in honor of another franchise celebrating their 35th anniversary this year, The Legend of Zelda. And in my last video, I made a joke about getting to 100,000 subscribers, since at the time I was only at 50,000, and now somehow I'm well past 200,000, one of whom is Ludwig. I guess the only thing left to do at this point is to head towards 1 million, hopefully by the end of the year, so subscribe. Usually when remaking a game, I tend to only create the character and then the first level of the game, and then create a video to go along those two things. I don't know what happened this time, but apparently I decided it was a good idea to create the entire overworld from the original Legend of Zelda. I think you might be starting to see why it's been so long since my last upload. I also decided to create all of the overworld enemies and the items, all in the same voxel art style that I learned last time. But let's not get ahead of ourselves yet. The first thing I wanted to do was get a working character model for Link. To get started, I based a model for Link off of the 8-bit amiibo that Nintendo released a couple of years ago. However, everything in the game has two distinct animation frames, so I needed to alter that model to create the second frame. Then I imported both models into Unity and made a basic walk cycle using these two models, but it looked kinda bad. I decided to create a third animation frame to pass through both of the other two frames by keeping his legs in the middle. Throwing this into the walk cycle makes it look much better. The next thing I wanted to do was make a model for swinging the sword. For this, Link swings his shield out to the side and thrusts his sword forward. His mouth also opens up slightly, and you can almost hear his famous shouting in the background. With these models finished, I was done working on Link for now, and then decided to start working on modeling the overworld, which is where I spent most of my time. I found a picture of the overworld which included everything I needed to know, including enemy spawns, item locations, and hidden entrances. With this I could get started. First I made a giant plane and scaled it up to match the dimensions of the map. Then I added a material to match the color of the ground from the game. The next thing I started doing was adding all of the rock structures. For this I used ProBuilder to trace the outline of the shape, and then I scaled it up to make it 3D. Then I went ahead and created a texture for the green rocks and applied it to a material that I could use on the new 3D shape. With the material applied, I could better visualize what it would look like, so I decided to make the structure 2 blocks tall based on the height of the texture. I repeated the same tracing process for the next few surrounding structures, and scaled them all up to be about the same height. Then I placed Link into the scene and tried getting a feel for it by walking around. It felt really claustrophobic as everything seemed either too narrow or too tall. To get around this, I scaled it down to be 1 layer tall again, but then I shrunk the top face of the structure and then scaled that up to be 1 layer tall. Doing this, I could keep the same height without everything feeling claustrophobic. At this point, I decided to zoom out and appreciate all the work that I've done so far, and oh, I've barely even done anything. I continued on by finishing the last of the green structures. The only tricky part was over here by the entrance to level 2. There's a ladder here that brings you up to a higher elevation. I created a texture for the ladder, but I didn't really know what to do after that. If I made a ladder that is perpendicular to the ground, that would mean that this area would be directly above this area, but the map shows that it's set further back. So instead of making it a ladder, I decided to make it a staircase. Luckily, ProBuilder has a feature to automatically build staircases, but I decided not to use this for 2 reasons. The first reason is that it displays the texture weirdly, and the second is that the camera will jitter when walking up or down the staircase. So instead I decided to just make it a flat plane and put it at an angle. With all the green structures done, I decided to start creating these little green to match the dimensions with the dimension of the model in Magic Voxel, and then I imported it over into Unity and scaled it up to match the dimensions with the dimensions of the map. Now if you remember, I made a joke last time about how much copying and pasting the developers of Super Mario Bros. Did, and yes, I realized that it was to keep the game files extremely small, but what those guys did is nothing compared to the amount of copying and pasting the developers of The Legend of Zelda did. The entire time I was placing around these bushes, I had my fingers glued to the Ctrl-C and V keys. By the end of it, my pinky was hurting from holding down the Control key for so long, and I'm actually surprised I finished it without seeing sticky keys pop up even once. Oh, and by the way, if you were curious, there are apparently over 1,800 of these green bushes. Now if we zoom out and look at the whole map, it actually looks like I've made a good amount of progress. So I decided to do the exact same again, but for the brown bushes this time. Luckily during all of this, I could select an entire group of bushes and copy and paste the entire group, so I didn't have to actually copy and paste thousands of bushes one by one. After finishing all the bushes, I decided to start modeling these rock statues. I don't know what they're actually supposed to be, but to me they look like snails, so I'd called them snail rocks. And I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but once again, I made a model that looks good from every angle except for the front, and it actually looks almost identical to the front-facing Koopa that I made previously. And now I decided that I wanted to start creating the water. I could have just placed a flat texture on top of the ground and called it water, but that would be boring. So I grabbed the water share that I've used in previous videos and used it again here with some textures that I made for the water. In order for the share to work properly, the object it's used on has to have multiple faces to make it look like the water is moving. If you use it on just one giant face, it makes it look really bad, which is probably why it didn't look all that great when I used it in the Sonic video. So I used ProBuilder to make a new shape and model it along the water. I don't really know much about 3D modeling, but I'm pretty sure having a lot of faces like this is generally bad, but it doesn't lag my game, so oh well. Now I wanted to make it look like the water level was below the beach, but the problem is that I used one giant plane to create the entire map. Apparently there's some experimental feature in ProBuilder that you can use to cut holes in faces, but when I tried to use it, Unity just crashed. So I tried it again, and it crashed again. I kept trying until finally it worked one time when I used a smaller cube, but after that it kept crashing, so I decided, alright, the water's just going on top of the beach now. And you know, technically I'm not wrong. I continued modeling the rest of the ponds and the lakes, and one of the rivers. I decided to save this river until later, and you'll see why when I get back to it. At this point, I decided to start modeling the brown rock structures that cover pretty much the rest of the map. The reason why I held off on doing this is because of all the ladders that change the elevation everywhere. There are some inconsistencies with the logic of the ladders. For example, down here there's a ladder that goes up, which should mean that everything from here on should be higher than the rest of the map. But continuing on from there, there's one more ladder that leads up to another point that's even higher. But right next to that is one ladder that returns back to the ground level. It doesn't make sense for 2 ladders to reach the same height as just one ladder, so that must mean that somewhere along the way the ground itself went down. There were a few places where I had to put ramps to change the elevation to match up with the ladders. The first spot is right here where I made a downwards ramp, and one is over here alongside the river, which is why I decided to hold off on that river. From here on, I just did a bunch of modeling